Hey, how's it going, everybody? Comic book artist and writer Will Robson here. Trying to work this new setup I've made. I'm trying to make it look a bit more legitimate so you can see me while I do the reviews, and also so you don't hear me breathing like James Gandolfini with my French Bulldog in my lap when we do these. So I'm working with a new setup. It's making my pen a bit funky because I'm trying to connect my iPad to a laptop, but we're going to do what we can. I've already tried to record this once, and it failed when we were nearly done with the whole review. So that's fun. Anyway, enough about that. If you would like to get your portfolio reviewed by me, you can go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Will Robson. And if you'd like to support any of my comics, then my Outbreaks issue 4 is out now. That's my independent comic that I make myself. And Mobster Mash issues 3 and 4 are on the way in the future. Or if you want to support any of my other work, head to speechcomics.com where you can pick up any of my Marvel and DC comics that I have readily available to be signed. Okay, so what I usually do on these is I go deeply through focus of values, which these are my big rules for how to get better at drawing comics. So I like to try and consider about focusing with values. That's using blacks, grays, and whites to your advantage to draw the reader's eye into exactly where you want them to look. I went into depth with this in the first recording, but like all these recordings, I pretty much go over these steps every single time because I want to nail home this information because I think this is the most important yet easiest ways to get better at art. So look at Frank Miller's work here. What happens? It's a solid, mostly solid black image, but our eye goes directly to his head because on the top of Marv's head is this electrocution helmet or whatever it's called. That is solid white, so we're looking directly at that in a sea of black. Great stuff. And you look at Todd McFarlane. Well, there's all this gray here and then all this solid black of Venom. So we look at Venom in this sea of gray. Here is the most balanced piece I could possibly show you. This is John Romita Jr. All of the guys he's fighting are mostly gray. He's mostly black, Daredevil, and the background is white. Perfect balance here so that we can look at everything perfectly. Our eye goes immediately to Daredevil because he's solid black. Then we make up the rest of the details of the gray that he's fighting, all on a white background. Mwah, perfect. And then we got Greg Capullo here, mostly black background, lots of gray, and we're actually using black to draw the eye here, even though it's in a sea of black, and that's looking at Batman's head because there's no other sort of deep black here. The only other one is down here, and guess what? That's where their signatures are. So that's great balance. Focus with values. That's what you want to do. And a lot of people, they let the colorist do this nowadays. So that is quite sad when I think it should be done in the ink stage. Okay, next. Background, middle ground, and foreground, or in comic sense, extreme foreground. Now, this is using the 3 planes. This is to add depth to your image. Because a lot of people, when they draw, they just draw 2 people standing sideways talking to each other, or they draw everything on a flat surface. It's not fun. It's not exciting. This is a much better way to do it. So, let's look at some examples in film here. If you look here at these guys, you've got extreme foreground, you've got Sean Connery in the middle ground, and then you've got the background here. Perfect balance. Extreme foreground. I would say that the room is middle ground, and she's background. Here we got foreground, not extreme, but foreground. These guys are in the middle ground. We got background back there. Extreme foreground, middle ground, background. Extreme foreground, middle ground, background. Immediate depth to these shots. And this is such a great way to break it down as this image here. If you look, everything in the extreme foreground is black, everything in the middle ground is gray, and the background is white. This just is immediate way to show you the layers of depth that you can create from an image. Just going to take a quick water break because we're recording this live, baby. So please use background, middle ground, foreground, super important stuff. After that is the rule of thirds. Again, another super important tool. Basically, what we're trying to do is make sure that we want the audience to look at something where these lines intersect. Now, go on Instagram. Guess what happens when you upload a video? Gives you these borders, right? That's because this is an old school camera and film technique. This is such an easy way to create balance in your frame and what you're trying to do with your work. So, the golden rule is usually to have something happen where these lines interact, but you can also have stuff happen in between the lines, like in the center. I wouldn't have her eyes here or here, but since they're in the center, this works because we're drawing attention right to that middle center. You can also have stuff interact on 2 different lines, like the eyeballs here, or 2 different lines up here and down there, as long as it's balanced. And then here's a good example of, we're looking here and we got the middle ground, foreground, and background, and we have the values balanced because he's dark, the middle ground is gray, and the background is white. So I think that's just a perfect example. I mean, if you look at Cap here, these values are completely off because I just, he's completely lost. If you zoom out, you can't see Cap, right? But you can totally see that there's a difference going on this one. And that's why values are super important. Okay. We've covered the ground rules of how to draw and get better at drawing. Let's get into portfolio review now. Oh, I was just nearly done with this review and I feel so bad. Jake. Jake is a aspiring comic book artist from the UK. He is taking these pages to Ireland to get his portfolio reviewed by Marvel Comics, which is very exciting. He's also getting it reviewed by the same guy that reviewed me doing the same exact script. That's really exciting. This is the script that actually got me into Marvel Comics, so I wish you the best. Let's see if Jake has been paying attention to the lessons. So, immediately, applying what we just said, right? If I just... Oh, sorry about that. If I just put down a basic rule of thirds here. And again, my pen's a bit funky with this program, so please bear with me because it's the way that everything's set up. I can see that the view we're looking at right here is the Vulture stuff, which is great. That's what we want to be looking at. So that's a well balanced panel. I also like the value choices of having the this all in black silhouetted in the foreground. It's not the important stuff that we need to see, but we want to be looking at this, which is a lot of gray, and then the white background. That's a very strong opening panel. The only problem is you got this lovely black silhouette here, and then you do it again here, but you choose much more boring shapes. And I just feel like that all you needed to do here was just make these shapes, add little like lips to the roof. Maybe add like a pipe. You can even add organic shapes like a clothesline with baby clothes on it or something like that. Socks. You can even, since this has a lot of birds, you can foreshadow with some pigeons or something like that, just to make it a bit more exciting in the foreground, because it's pretty bland right now. Just if I take off this layer, as you can see, it's just squares, and since there's so much of it, it's just it's a bit lost. Also, these background buildings, I can see you just put the perspective ruler on and you just penciled. I'm not a big fan of that. I think you should do this first and then come in afterwards with a pen and try and add some more organic shapes to it. But and also, I know from this script, it was supposed to show that the city is covered in spray paint because she's really trying to antagonize the Vulture. All I just hear is a couple of spray paints here. I think that you should have covered way more ground. This is a good shot to reveal her. I would say that the inks are slightly thick around her head unnecessarily. This foreground leg is way too small for the body, and also I'd watch out for the way you're flexing here and flexing here. You think of it like a bicep. Yes, this would be flexed like this, but this would be more straight then and down here. By doing the barrel shapes like this, the muscles don't work this way. You're making it look like that's all just one muscle when it's actually multiple muscles flexing at once. There's a tangent right here, so be careful about that. Tangents are when lines sort of are on top of each other, right next to each other, and they create strangeness. Editors hate tangents. They will tell you about it. And it'll be one of the first things they see as an amateur mistake. Maybe her forearm is a little bit short here. Could be a bit longer. But it's all right. There's not enough black on this image for me personally. And the tangent is really strong here. And I would just add more organic shapes. I do like that you kind of added a couple more organic shapes in here. But they just seem like doodles. Like this is like a really quickly scribbled paper. And why is the paper so thick? And then scribble on the inside. I would make the paper way less thick. I think you're still making stuff too thick, but that's the way it goes. We're all thick boys when we first start drawing, or girls. Again, I would make these lines lighter, but I do like that you're using the rule of thirds again. He's up here, she's here. I also like that he's in silhouette as well. That's great. Let's move on to the next page. All right. I like that he's in silhouette for the top panel, obviously, but I just feel like it's a bit, unless he needs to be, I would go maybe zooming in more or something like that. But maybe I would have just some light coming in, you know? Just a hint of light. Because I just feel like that balances it out more and we get to see more of the shape. I do like full silhouettes in extreme foregrounds. I always think it's cool, but we're introducing a character here that I feel like he should be seen a little bit more. This is one of the best faces you've ever drawn. Super expressive and dynamic. The only thing that's holding it back is his collar here is very flat. It looks like a kid's cut out paper, you know, for a school project, and they've like glued it onto the picture. It's holding it back. Remember that a collar, and again, it's gonna be hard for me to draw because apparently I can't put my wrist down. You would still be like a rounded thing around his head. So therefore, the fur would reflect the roundness of that. But right now, it seems like you're just kind of going like this. And I don't think that that particularly works. So just consider it. Everything is a 3D object that you draw. Every little thing is made of 3D. So try and consider that every time. This panel, these inks are way too thick. It's super duper thick. And it's really bleeding into all of this information here, which I don't think is necessary. And the value balance is off. It's very hard to choose where I should be looking, especially on this panel because there's so much gray. And then what usually would work is keeping him like, if you wanted to have that gray background, then I would get rid of all of like these. Where is it? Come on, get the right tool, Robson. All right. I would get rid of a lot of the white you've been adding. I mean, a lot of the gray you've been adding in here, especially his wings. Look, these wings. I didn't even see that there were wings here because the background was all gray. So you want to balance it out more, because if I zoom out there, you can see him, right? I take that away, he disappears a bit more, especially the wings. So you want to be able to see everything. There's a lot of speed lines here. I don't think this is necessary. I like the shot of her swinging, but they feel like I feel like they should have been on the same panel here, you know, for the bottom one, because they're so separate. He's in one panel, she's in the other panel. He's running for the next one, and then they're like, you know, I feel like there should be a vulture back here chasing us, so we know that the chase is on. Semantics. It's still good stuff. It's probably better than the pages I originally had it in. Okay. I think on this page I would have, again, using values to draw the eye, I probably would have put a lot of him in a little bit of shadow there, just to break it up a bit, and then you really start seeing that webbing popping. I don't like the way you've drawn the webs. It looks like you've just done like a lasso tool and then selected it, shrunk it, and filled it with white. It's a little bit lazy, and this gray here on this part, don't like the way that looks at all. Just study your favorite artist's webbings, you know, instead of trying to create it yourself. So many people come before us that have done a lot better job. So just study up on that. It's not easy to draw. I know that for a fact, having drawn Spider-Man. It's a pain in the butt. Okay. I think she's a little bit too close as well to him if we're using the rule of thirds. I see. Okay, yeah. See, I would move her face over here instead. And I just think that this is kind of tangenty, even though they're not touching. You know, they're overlapping shapes. So, you know, when things overlap, have them actually overlap. If I have my hand here, and then where's my other hand? And then my other hand's like, I can't. What am I trying to do here? Okay, come on. I think my camera's flipped. Okay, ready? This hand here, this hand here. If they're separate, it doesn't look as dynamic. If I just put this hand where they cross over each other a bit, it's way more dynamic because I can clearly see that this hand is way closer to the camera than this hand. So you want shapes to interlap. Don't be afraid to let stuff layer on top of each other, because the layering really shows depth, which is very good. Okay, moving on. Again, I don't know if we need all of this rendering here. It's pretty cool, and I like all the explosion of rubble. But you've drawn the rubble all the same, so it kind of looks like confetti. I think that you would want to vary a bit more of sizes of shapes just to show a bit more of a range. And it's the same down here with this rubble. Yeah, I like the little face down there. I think that is a fun little Easter egg. But this is an action panel. This wall's just been exploded. So, you know, add cracks to the wall in the corners. Have falling debris happening. Have the sofa covered in little pieces of debris. Debris of all different shapes and sizes. This is an action shot. Like, again, more cracks in the wall. And you can use the cracks to your advantage. You can have them all pointing towards Spider-Gwen so that it's just another way to draw your eye in. You're looking at her because all lines are coming towards her. Yeah, and I think I do like the background though, even though it is just a perspective background. Again, I'm a stickler about this stuff, but does Marvel actually care that you're just using a perspective background? Not really, because they know people aren't looking at that so much. And the building variety is nice enough. It's just you can just add a bit more with some more organic stuff. But I love the controller here. I think that's super fun. Again, I don't like the webbing here. And I feel like you could have done his hand more in the foreground here, just to show a bit more depth. This panel down here, she's not looking at him. She's looking away from him. So shouldn't her face be focused on looking over her shoulder, up at him? You know? She's actually looking at him. And then this black shapes here, I get rid of it because we're using the silhouette of the black to focus on Vulture there. Oh, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So I would do more feathers, and then I would make them slowly get bigger, and then overlap so that they come down. So it's a nice trail to show that he's gone up in the air. Yeah, sorry, allergies. Oh, we have a heat wave in England, and I don't know what's going on. Things are cooking, and it's messing with me. Okay, I think this is one of the best figures you've ever drawn. Super dynamic. I love the arch to her back, just so that she's not stiff. I like her expression. I like the foreshortening going on with the arm here. I like the attitude of adding a behind the back shot with the webbing, and the webbing is perfectly fine and simple there. Sometimes less is more. Like, you look at this webbing here, I have no beef with this webbing, but this webbing with all the extra gray and stuff in it, and trying to do like the spider web stuff, look at like the shading looks to me just itchy scratchy. It's an afterthought. It doesn't look thought out. It looks like you're drawing it a bit scared, going, oh, I gotta make this look more dynamic, when you could leave that pure white. Like this, super open. The colors can do loads of wonders with that. So yeah, I really like that shot. Okay, moving on. I think this is now getting caught up to where I was before I realized I didn't click record. Okay, let's have a look here. I have no idea what's going on in this top panel, to be honest. I don't know where to look. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's Spider-Gwen's face there. It's just so, the values, there's no balance here at all. And I know you're doing, it looks like you're doing him far away with the shading again. I think to make this a more dynamic panel, I would really focus on like really getting these feathers, maybe even some feathers coming out of the panel as well. Like, again, show that trail. I just think that there needs to be more Gwen in this panel. I think that there's too little Gwen the way it is. And also, rule of thirds. Yeah, I guess he's kind of down there and she's up there. That's fine. It doesn't look perfect, though. This is a panel I remember you were struggling with. It's strange to go from such a interesting, like, worm's eye view. Like, I like the shot choice that we're looking up from a worm's eye view. But then to go static cam, really, you would want to go bird's eye view. You want to look up, next shot, look down. I think his inks are a little bit too thick here. And then the next panel. I know there's just not much. There's not very good flow on this. Again, her ink's just way too thick, guy. Look how. I mean, my lord, it's thicker than the panel border. If it's thicker than the panel border, you know you're doing something wrong there. Again, he's also too thick. I like the expression, but there's way too much cheekbones. He looks like he's had plastic surgery by them being so prominent there. So I would focus on that. This is the weakest page out of all of it. Okay, and then moving on to the final page. That's a great shot. That really is great. I mean, her buttocks is a little bit big compared to her body. It looks a little bit off. But it is fun, it's dynamic, and hopefully the colors will save it. I know, I feel like the problem I see right now is this is great, the butt and the legs, really good stuff. But since I'm seeing this whole torso here, it's kind of just like you shrunk her down. It would need to be more forced perspective. We would see less of her stomach because of the perspective that it's in. By showing a full long torso there, it doesn't really make sense. I like that the sky is upside down and then ending on the cracked phone. I believe that it was supposed to be incoming call from dad on that phone or something like that, and you've left that out. That's kind of an important story detail. Also, I think your panel borders are just way too thick in general. I'm not a big fan of thick panel borders, but you do you. But this is a lot better stuff than what you usually do. And I've been seeing what you've been doing in the Discord recently with your studies of looseness, and I can't wait to see you applying all of that new looseness to your work. So that's going to be exciting. But great job. I wish you the best of luck with Marvel. We've only got one more here, and that's from Jamie. It's a couple of little sketches here. Let's take a look. So you can see the digital coloring. I mean, it's just like scribble coloring at this point. You know, comic book coloring is a little bit more dynamic than that. So I would study up on that. I kind of like the exaggerated proportions here, only because it reminds me of like Mike Mignola or something. There's a weird like Magnolia-ness to this, not just because there's a big cross, but yeah, the face is okay. The body is lumpy. Like if we look at the torso here, you've suddenly added a ball here. So this is a pregnant Spidey or Spider-Man that had too much New York pizza. You know, I think you were trying to do a forced perspective with the leg. But, and then, yeah. So there's just, whatever this extra mush is here, that's throwing it off. But it's exaggerated. So I don't know if exaggeration is a way, like sort of a route you want to take. If so, lean into it. If you were trying to draw a perfectly anatomically correct Spider-Man, then please go read Figure Drawing Design Adventure by Michael Hampton and learn your proportions. The problem I see right now, though, with the funky background is the cross he's on is just, it's all in different perspectives. You know, it's completely free-handed. This is like, this bit here is in a different perspective than the rest of this here. It's all over the place. Yeah, so I think you need to learn anatomy. I don't know if expressionism is something you were trying to do. And then these are some faces you did. This face is okay. If we look at the way faces are done, and if you want to learn how to draw faces really well, please look at Andrew Loomis. He is the master at drawing faces. So let me just put sorry, if I put my hand down on the iPad, it freaks out in this way. You put a line down the face here, across the face, fill the face here. This head's okay. There's a little extra here, but that's fine. That face is pretty good. This is where it gets wackadoo a bit though. If we go to like here and here, you can see you've added like more of a lump to that side of the face, and then again here. There's just extra lumps and bumps on the forehead. And then this head's, for some reason, is turning a bit. But they're not terrible drawings of Spider-Man's head. Look, I struggle to draw Spider-Man's head. Look at my professional Spider-Man work. You will see heads that have extra lumps and bumps because Spider-Man is very difficult to draw, actually. You think he'd be easy, but he's not. And that's all we got for the portfolio reviews today. Thank you, Jake and Jamie, for letting me look at your work. Again, if you would like to get your portfolio reviewed, then you can head over to patreon.com/WillRobson. Make sure you head to my website, speechcomics.com, where you can pick up any of my independent comic book work or any of my Marvel and DC work that I have readily available to be signed. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that any of this is helpful. Before I leave, I'm just going to say it again. Use values to draw focus so the eye knows where to go. Please use the middle ground, foreground, and background to add, a little bit more dynamism. I can't even say that word. Just creating a more dynamic shot. Rule of thirds. The most easiest way to make a pleasing image. You just move the camera around a tiny bit just to make a shot more palatable to the eye. And I'm not going to teach you about dynamic symmetry, but that's another thing that you can use. It's an advanced tool. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next review. Was this setup okay? Do you like this new setup? I'm trying to make it look good for YouTube. I don't like that I can't put my palm on the iPad without the whole pen freaking out. Growing pains, people, we're learning. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!